Welcome to our Tuesday weekly feature, acrepro Buy Sell, where we talk about the great ideas and thoughts of college football with few guys that know it any better than Tom Dienhart. So we appreciate Tom joining us. We want to thank acrepro. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. acrepro Midwest Farm Group are your local and farmland experts with decades, and I mean decades, of experience in Indiana agriculture. No one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local acrepro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. Visit acrepro.com or call Kyle Spray at 765-775-6502. That number again, 765-775-6502. You know, the Indiana countryside these days, even though it's warm this weekend in West Lafayette, has that look of harvest. It's starting to have that look a little bit. I don't know if you've been out. I live out a little bit on the north side of town. Tom's a little more in town, but you getting that feel at all that falls in the air at all?
Yeah, I am with the sun setting a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit sooner. The longer shadows. I don't know. You kind of sense something in the air too, Alan, that we're getting closer. I think Saturday is the autumnal equinox.
right.
So the first day of fall, we're there, Alan. We'll be raking leaves before we know it, buying Halloween candy and having a little frost on the pumpkin too.
You know, one play I notice it more than anything is when you drive due west. I don't know what it is, but like you're driving in west, that sun is at an angle where it just seems to be right in the eyes, and it's always that way. I know it's probably not any different. Somebody, our meteorologist or our folks out there that understand physics better than I do and the rotation of the earth will be better off. But that's one thing I do notice. And I'm starting to definitely notice the days getting a little bit shorter. But boy, we've had great weather for Purdue, Syracuse. They're expecting, I think, pretty good weather, a little warmer maybe for Friday night when the Boilermakers take on Wisconsin. In our buy-sell program, we kind of look back at and some of this is inane. I have to qualify this with my partner, Tom, here, is that I hate to put him on the spot with stupid questions that you have no idea what the answer is, but it makes for good conversation, hopefully. And last week, our little report card was, at least mine, I don't know if it was so good. We had the Garrett Schrader versus Hudson Card, who would run more for your yards. I think we both said Garrett Schrader. You have to go back and check the tape. And Garrett Schrader, not only did he run more yards than Hudson Card, he ran for more yards than any quarterback against Purdue in its history. And he laid down for 38 yards. He threw away 38 yards and a fifth touchdown, which would have been a Purdue opponent record had he done that. Wow. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was really good, Alan. And he also had 4 sacks, which kind of knocked into his rushing yardage as well. Yeah, my goodness, we saw some of the things he could do last year at Syracuse. Didn't look that good as a passer. Did some good work as a runner. My God, Al, he pretty made him look like a Heisman Trophy contender. Yeah. Give him credit. Syracuse saw something in the scheme. They knew things that would work. That naked bootleg a couple times, Al, and one Schrader took in for a touchdown where, nobody for Purdue sets the edge. Scotty Humpich is running in toward the line. No idea where the ball is, and Schrader just waltzes into the end zone. And then, of course, late, similar play going toward the north end zone. When Syracuse is killing the clock, Schrader runs a similar play. He turns the corner, looks up, and there's just green grass for miles. He just ends up sliding and taking a knee where he probably could hit pay dirt. So, yeah, I give Garrett Schrader a lot of credit, a veteran quarterback who played very well. And remember this too, Alan, not to be more somber, but Syracuse didn't even have its best receiver playing, Rondé Gadsden. So hats off to the Qs. I was a little flummoxed to why they were about a 3-point favorite. Now I know why Vegas had them at a favorite, right?
Yeah, isn't it amazing how that works? He could have had, like I said, he could have had a 5th touchdown, which would have been, I think, a Purdue opponent record. And by a quarterback, he was good. Purdue helped him in certain situations. I think the one touchdown on the south end zone, Tom, he literally walked into the end zone. He strolled, and it was like a 3-yard run. He was just all by himself, and that gave Kevin Kane and the Purdue defense some things to work on and in terms of setting the edge, like you talked about. And then in fairness to Purdue, you got some new guys playing. And I know though Scotty Humpick not necessarily as new, but without Kyron Jenkins, also a big thing. We'll talk about that a little bit. We also had Devin Mockobee. I think we both thought he'd be over 100 yards. One thing I know we didn't do it. We would have taken the under of 7 fumbles. But that was not a Purdue record. To look that up, 11 fumbles against Notre Dame. About the time, long before I was born, 1953. They lost 8 of them in a 37-7 loss to the number 1 ranked Irish. Did not beat that, but boy, 7 was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, just crazy. 7 fumbles, and Devin Mockobee, I think, had 3. I think there could be some consequences to that this week, Alan. We may see more Tyrone Tracy. If you believe some of the things Ryan Walters said, and there's a lot to like about Tyrone Tracy so far. But yeah, tough night for Devin. He runs hard. But yeah, again, I was stunned to see that final number too. 7 fumbles and then 4 turnovers overall. Of course, Purdue had no turnovers its first 2 games. 1 turnover was obviously an interception. Really wasn't Hudson Card's fault. The ball was tipped by a Syracuse player. But Hudson, of course, had a couple fumbles that were lost. And just a night you want to forget. But hopefully, as we always know, you want to learn from your mistakes, right? And gosh, Alan, to be 1-2 after 3 games, there's no other way to paint it but disappointing. I think these were 3 of the more winnable games on the schedule, Alan. And, peeking ahead, how many more times will Purdue be favored this year? Maybe 3 against Illinois, Northwestern, and Indiana, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe.
So it's, so again, you got to get to 6 wins to get to a bowl game. Purdue has 1. And here comes Wisconsin. So, yeah, Purdue's really got its work cut out for it.
Yeah, no question. And maybe if things go, see where Nebraska goes, I suppose it's possible, but probably not a road favorite there. I would agree with that. I don't think you're a road favorite.
No, not on the road. Yeah.
Nebraska. I see that. All right. It has been, we're going to start with this one. By the time Saturday rolls around, it will have been 9,470 days since the last time Purdue beat Wisconsin in Ross-Ade Stadium. They held Ron Dayne down a little bit that day. He still had, I think, had over 140 yards. But I can remember Ed Watson, I think the first or second play of the game, going around right end for 75 yards and a touchdown. Billy Dicken was near perfect in that game as well. Purdue blows out Wisconsin and actually gets the lesser bowl when it came to bowl time that year. Of course, we learned that lesson. Wisconsin went to the Outback Bowl and Purdue went to the Alamo Bowl, which was a good bowl for Purdue. But I'm going to say, is it time? Are you going? I know you make the predictions on Friday. I know it would be an upset, but are you buying or selling that Purdue is going to get to stop this streak this week?
I'm buying it, Alan. I mean,
you're going to buy it. All right.
I just don't see it happening. No. I guess I'm selling back. Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah,
okay. I'm selling. They're not going to win, Alan. No. And I know Wisconsin's going through its transition with a new coach, and of course, new schemes. They also have installed an air raid offense, and I don't know. Not that history matters. I still think Wisconsin's going to be the more physical team. 2 good running backs, and they've got a transfer quarterback from the state of Texas in Tanner Mordecai. I just think the Badgers are going to find a way to pull it out, and we'll find out a lot about Purdue this week, right? As we always know, you find out the most about people in times of adversity, and how Purdue responds to a very disappointing 35-20 loss at home, where a lot of things got exposed, and we still kind of question maybe the toughness of the team, Alan. The inability still to get that one tough yard is missing. Now we see some I guess lack of attention to detail with the penalties and the fumbles. 11 penalties, 4 turnovers, 7 fumbles. On and on it goes. And here comes again the Badgers. And again, they're trying to sort some things out too. I talked to their play-by-play guy today, Matt LePay, and he calls them a work in progress. So this isn't a vintage Wisconsin team, so maybe they're vulnerable, but we'll see if Purdue can pick itself up off the bootstraps. And certainly, Alan, a good start maybe would be just what this team needs to maybe give it some confidence. Punch Wisconsin early while Wisconsin still has some self-doubt, Alan, because again, they haven't looked super great out of the gate either. So maybe if Purdue can get on top of them, maybe demoralize them early, that obviously would be a good thing.
Well, I know the line started at 6 or 7 and moved down to 4. I don't know what that means, but one thing we found out last week, Vegas knew what it was talking about. Now, again, mind you, I'm 0-3, I think, in picking Purdue this year, but I'm with you. I think, and this is not a criticism of Purdue. I just think Wisconsin, I think that toughness quotient is a lot of what you're talking about. And I think Ryan Walters and staff are trying to get that done, but I just don't see Purdue coming out. I think it'll be good. Should be a good game, but I think Wisconsin will get out of Mackey Arena. Well, they'll get out of Mackey Arena, but they'll also get out of Ross-Ade Stadium with that win. But the good thing, if you're a Purdue fan, is I've been wrong every week, so maybe that is your best thing. All right, you talked earlier about consequences, and it will be, I think that's what's in, and I'm not necessarily being critical of fans, but if fans would actually take a step back and just kind of watch Purdue develop here and see how it develops. And one of the storylines, in my view, is like you kind of hinted to, will there be ramifications? And we all both think Devin Mockobee is a great kid and a very good football player, but he laid it on the turf 3 times. And will there be some consequences for that? But my question is, who gets more carries this week, Tyrone Tracy Jr. or Devin Mockobee? Are you buying and selling Tyrone Tracy getting more carries than Devin?
I'm gonna buy it, Alan. I think maybe they're gonna try to give Tracy a look here, an extended look. You know, he's impressed since spring football. You know, he moved from wide receiver to running back, and again, all reports were that, again, he really took like a fish to water here with the move. And it's not a surprise, I guess. You know, running back really is his natural position. He was a good running back in high school, and Iowa made him a wide receiver. And he sort of languished in Iowa City, never became a key guy. And even last year here in West Lafayette, Allen, he was a non-factor, didn't score a touchdown, was hardly used. Really never seems comfortable catching the ball downfield. And I think he's really in his comfort zone now. We've seen a lot of good things from Tyrone Tracy these first 3 games. Runs with a lot of power, a lot of conviction, hits the hole hard, has some speed, toughness. He can still catch the ball. Why not? I mean, Devin Mockobee is very good too, but, you know, nothing like competition for everybody to bring out the best in you, right? Yeah. And why not see what Tyrone Tracy has here? Maybe he's really something special. And this offense needs more playmakers, Alan. I think they really only has one right now in Deion Burks. Maybe Tracy can become more of a playmaker. We saw him do that certainly on special teams in the opener when he ran that kickoff back 98 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, and Purdue's going to need some consistency, and they've got to. The Boilermakers, not one would think, it's just an absolute truth. You cannot do the turnover dance like Purdue did, and you can't. And coaches don't like guys that fumble. They love Devin Mockobee, and he'll probably get that fixed. And certainly Ryan Walters pulled no punches about things that they said they work on ball security. That obviously will be an emphasis this week, and it's a non-starter certainly if you can't get that thing solved. All right, we said last week we both I think bought that Purdue was going to start this season 4 or this month of September 4-1. Yeah. Now let's go back to the big picture. I think that the line was still at the start of the year was 5.5 wins was the over under for Purdue. I think from Vegas. I think that's right. It might have been. And so are you going to say we're going to go back to is Purdue going to get to a bowl game? Buy or sell that at this point?
I'm going to sell it, Alan. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You're going to have to stay in West Lafayette.
Well, you're the one that's going to get to go somewhere, but that from that standpoint. But
I just think again, last week I thought, well, heck, maybe a 4-1 September is possible, right after they won Virginia Tech. But, now I think we've seen what Virginia Tech really is, Alan. Virginia Tech is not a good football team. They're actually an underdog this week against Marshall.
Oh, geez.
They got it handed to them at Rutgers last week. So, yeah, I just, Purdue 1-2, Alan. Maybe this is a 4-8 or a 5-7 team. Maybe I'm wrong. I know, again, you don't want to write anybody's obituary after 3 games. There's still a lot of football to be played. A lot of development can still take place. But just based on the sample size we have, I think you'd have to be a real Kool-Aid drinker, a real optimist to think this team could win 6 games. Again, you got Illinois, Northwestern, and Indiana. Again, 3 games probably will be favored in. 2 of them are at home. That would be 4 wins. Where are your other 2 wins, Alan? At Nebraska, they got to go to Iowa. I think they go to Northwestern. You got Ohio State. You got Michigan. I don't know. My Minnesota's in that on the menu too. So there's some toss-up games in there. There's no doubt, but it's going to be a challenge. And from what we've seen with this team's struggles, it was it was going to be tough. Had Purdue always played pretty clean football,
right?
If they continue to play sloppy football, forget it, right?
Yeah. I think that's absolutely is fair. And even though I know this is the nature of the 1 week yes, it's next week no, but we're starting to get data points, and I think that's an important thing. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I think there are still 4 games. There's 5 games they can win. But tell me the 5 you think they can win. They can. I just don't think they can win it. I think Iowa, Ohio State.
You win Iowa?
No. I'm saying Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan would be shockers.
Okay.
After that, and then you got I think they can win 5, but they'll be, like you said, they're only going to be a favorite in probably 3 of them. Maybe. Yeah. I suppose if Minnesota goes south, you could be a favorite on November 11th, but that's, Purdue's going to have to play. But I think one of the stories, again, and we got to go back to what we talked earlier in the year about this season, that is the story of this season, in my view, is just how they handle adversity, how this program, what culture are they building. There's no question that Ryan Walters has got, not only from a recruiting standpoint, he got to get his guys in here. I know there are a lot of other programs that are in the same boat, but I just think that I think Purdue could look at this as a successful year with even 4 wins if you do it the right way and you show steady improvement and you don't shoot yourself in the rear end like you did on Saturday night. So those are things that's not a loser's mentality. That's, I think, a realistic mentality. And I understand that we tend to do this. We put our index finger in the air and say which way the wind is blowing. This week, the wind is blowing against Purdue, at least the way we see it. All right, go ahead, Tom.
Now, I did forget the Minnesota game's in Ross-Ade Stadium.
That is correct.
That certainly is probably a toss-up game. Minnesota does not look like a world beater out of the gate either. They got beat pretty handily in North Carolina last week. No shame in that. They handled Nebraska at home, and they beat a lesser team in their second game. But still, you're right. That's a game. Those last 3 games of the year, Alan, Minnesota, at Northwestern, Indiana. Maybe Purdue's facing needing to win those last 3 games to get bowl eligible, sort of like Jeff Brom did some of those years when he was the head coach,
Yeah, but you got to be at 3 wins by November the 11th. And that's what you're talking about.
You got to get 2 more. You got to get 2 more before then, obviously.
And that's going to be a challenge.
That game, gosh, I don't know. You got to beat Illinois. That's a non-starter. You got to beat Illinois. And you probably have to win at Nebraska, obviously. Yeah. And Purdue's won the last 2 times out there, I think. And Nebraska's certainly, I think, beatable, Alan. So you're right. It's possible. But, man, the wiggle room, as we know,
it's getting less and less.
Yeah, it's
They can
starting to
take, it
shrink.
would take a big step if they could somehow get out of this weekend and beat Wisconsin. We'll probably have a
That'd
different
be
conversation
huge.
next week.
Hey, by then, Al, next week we'll be planning the Rose Bowl party, probably, right?
Yeah, right. They'll be 1-0 in the league, and that part that will begin. Okay, injuries are always a part of the storyline. Gus Hardwick has been injured off the entire season to date.
Yeah.
Two big ones, though. I mean, Garrett Miller, who we saw for a very cameo appearance. I don't even know, and I should have looked. Did he get any snaps last week?
Yeah, he did, Alan, but they've been pretty judicious and not wanting to push him too quickly or coming off that knee injury.
Right, but my point is, all right, we're going to go to two other guys that are extremely important. Gus Hardwick also Tyrone Jenkins, a guy that was hurt. And when we do this, we want to qualify it. We aren't physicians. We don't know. We have no idea exactly what the situation is with Jenkins. It sounds like after the game, didn't sound so good, but who knows? My say, are you buying or selling that you're going to see those guys this week? And Tom, what do you think?
I think Gus Hardwick is going to play. He's going to try. How much? I'm not sure. I think there was a shot last weekend. It didn't happen. I think this is the weekend we get at least a little bit of dose of Gus. I don't think he's capable of playing 70 snaps probably. But just getting him back, Alan, I just think psychologically what that does for your line, probably your best lineman and your center, your pivot man, your captain of your line, to get him back. Not only physically what he can do, but psychologically and mentally, I think could be huge for this front, Alan. So I'm going to lean towards saying we're going to see Gus. Garrett, just to kind of give you a quick update, he played 12 snaps at Virginia Tech. He played 19 snaps last
19
week.
19 snaps. I did finally look it up.
So, yeah, I think again, why push it with the way Max Claire's playing, right? I think maybe we'll see those snaps extended this week, and maybe why not get those guys on the field together, two of your best players. And as far as Jenkins goes, I really have no idea. I think I asked Coach about that on Monday. He said if he's ready to go, he'll play. If not, next man up. He said something similar after the game. I guess I'm going to lean toward him not playing again. That's a total guess, which would be too bad, Alan.
Yeah, he's been good, hasn't he?
He's been one of the best pass rushers in the nation. If you look at the metrics, he's just a guy, an empty the bucket guy, man. He's only about 6 feet tall, but man, he plays like he's 10 feet tall. And again, just relentless, Alan. And I think he's a guy that the team rallies around too. And if he didn't play, it's going to be a huge blow, obviously. They got depth at that spot. Will Helt and Scotty Humpich. It's interesting, Alan. Corday Sidner hardly plays.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's up with that, but he was a guy that looked like he was going to be a breakout star coming into the year, and he hardly gets on the field now. But anyway, they've got some other guys at OLB that could step up, and none of them are at the level of Jenkins. But my guess, again, it's just a guess, excuse me, is that Jenkins, number 4, won't play.
Yeah, Sidner only 8 plays last week. Guy that we thought
I thought he made turn pro early.
Yeah, yeah. So
it did.
Yeah, again, funny way how things turn out. And the thing I think too that Jenkins brings him at my very pedestrian view towards this is he allows you to play he's one of those, Ryan Walter's defense, like a lot of defenses, are built around the edges, built around the corners. And you need guys all around the edge that can make plays. And when you don't have that, or you have inexperience, I should say, it's not that Will Helt can't or Humpick can't do some of that, but you've got to be able to have strength, or really. And Nick Scouchin obviously has been really good so far. He played all 76 plays defensively last week. You just got to have that. And
it's funny, Alan. They don't play a lot of guys. Yep. They rotate the interior of the defensive line pretty liberally. They like the 6 guys there. You got, you got Cole Brevard on the nose. You got Malik Langham and Isaiah Nichols. Then they bring in Mo Amonade to play backup nose. And you got Joe Anderson and Jeffrey Emba. And then they play 3 or 4 outside linebackers. Man, outside of that, Alan, there's not a lot of rotation. Every offensive lineman plays every snap. They really only played 3 receivers. One tight end basically has played almost every snap for the most part. Mockobee's been the primary back. I mean, the secondary, there's almost no depth at all. They got about the same 5 guys who play all the time. So they just have not played a lot of guys outside the defensive line all year.
Yeah, you talk about the offense. You really only had 6, 9, only 18 or 19 guys that saw the field last week. Mershawn Rice did see the field.
Yeah, he's a non-factor. The junior college transfer, Jaden Dixonville, he never plays.
Yep.
And, who's the other? Oh, yeah, Elijah Canyon never plays, Alan.
Yeah, he played the first week and hasn't played since, right? And
he's a guy kind of looked like maybe he's going to break out. They kind of talked about him a little bit in the spring. Crickets, Alan. And remember this too, the guy who's supposed to be the best receiver is not playing. Jamal Adrine, the transfer from Florida Atlantic. What would this offense look like if he was in the lineup? You know, I've wondered that a few times. You can't wish for it, but just remember that too, that a huge X factor who's not part of this receiving corps. But long story short, again, back to my original point, TJ Sheffield, Deion Burks, Abdur Rahman, you're seeing those have basically been your only receivers. And everybody thinks, oh, you need 6 to 8 receivers to run this offense. No, you don't. You got 3 guys, you just ride them, I guess, right?
Yeah. And I think it's in again, coaches do get to comfort levels. Again, we don't know how Ryan Walters is really, nobody knows because he hasn't done it. We don't know what his true personality is. Is he going to be, are you going to go with the safer bets, so to speak? How do you manage? That's what I think is going to be the interesting storyline and for the rest of the years. How does he manage difficulty? You've talked about it week in and week out, but what does he do? Does he stick close to guys he can trust? Does he try to give guys more chances? That's what's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Right now, you're right. Yeah. It's pretty tight. Go ahead.
And Alan, if you're losing, you're not going to start auditioning guys, man. You're going to start to panic and lean more on the guys you trust.
Yeah, because he knows he needs to win enough games to keep the fan base at least intrigued. He gets that. You don't get paid $4 million a year to not win, and he understands that as well as anybody. All right, let's take a look at a couple national things. Are you buying or selling that there'll be 2 Big Ten teams that will win against ranked opponents? And that's a little bit of a tricky question because Iowa plays Penn State at Penn State, right? And then, of course, the real question is Ohio State going to win at Notre Dame?
No. I don't think Ohio State goes to South Bend and win. It's funny. They haven't won, not that they play up there a lot in their history, but they haven't won there since the 30s. And I remember, Alan, in the mid-90s, when they had a series about 4 games. Eddie George was playing, and the Buckeyes rolled them a couple times. Of course, last year, the Buckeyes
beat them,
I think.
But did not 21-10 was not an easy game.
I just don't think – I don't like this Ohio State quarterback situation. Kyle McCord, he's not C.J. Stroud. I still think they've been a little lethargic here. They beat Western Kentucky, I know, handily last week, but I don't think they're hitting on all cylinders, Alan. They're not playing well enough to go to South Bend and beat what looks like a very good Notre Dame team with a very good quarterback in Sam Hartman. Marcus Freeman's got him going up there, Alan. I think Indy's going to win with some relative ease. I think that Penn State, no way Iowa's going to go to State College and beat this team. Penn State's sort of that. It's funny to think of them as a sleeper, Alan, but they are a sleeper in some ways from a Big Ten title and a playoff perspective. Maybe this is the team that really can make that next step this year. A lot of people think this is James Franklin's best team in State College, PA. Good up front, good young quarterback. They're playing really well, Alan. That place is going to be just on fire. And I don't think Iowa gets out of that place alive.
Iowa ranked near the bottom of the top 25. I think ranked 24th. Penn State ranked 7th and is a favorite in that game as well. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I'm not sure. I'm gonna buy that Ohio State's gonna win though. I just for some reason probably just
Really?
talent alone. I know Ohio State's a slight favorite. I think, as you believe it or not.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think aren't they? Aren't they like a 2-point favorite in that game? But
they're favored in South Bend.
yeah, I'll have to look that up while we're chatting. We'll stall for a minute to find that out. And I think that I do think that it's going to be a game where it should be close. But you're right. It definitely needs to be. They need to figure out something. Notre Dame is a home underdog in at least opening odds.
Wow.
But it's close, and it is expected to be a close football game, and that's what's going to be an interesting storyline.
Great Saturday, Alan. A lot of great games, man.
Yeah, for the first time, last week was the first time in like 40 years that there were no games between ranked teams. This week there are 7 or 8? It's crazy. So there's a lot of games between ranked teams. Again, 2 of those games among Big Ten teams, and of course, 2 of them playing each other when Iowa goes to Penn State. All right, last question. The story of college football on a national perspective is Coach Prime. It's hard to argue that. He gets a 60 minutes piece done on him. They pull one out in overtime. They rushed the field when they beat Colorado State. The Buffaloes are 3-0. They handled Nebraska. They beat TCU on the road. They go to Oregon this week. Are you buying and selling another primetime week of Coach Prime? And will he go to Oregon and win?
I think he will not win there. I think it's finally going to end. I think the Deion train will have to shift to second gear this week, Alan. I don't think he's going to go to Eugene and win. Dan Lanning's got a pretty good squad out there. Bo Nix, great quarterback, Heisman Trophy contender. Autzen Stadium. That's one of those places that's like an AC/DC concert when they're playing. It's louder than heck. And I think this is where some of the momentum slows for Deion. But I tell you what, Alan, what great theater. Love me, hate me, don't ignore me.
Yeah.
I know Deion's got a lot of haters, I'm sure, out there. I like him. I mean, I know he's
hard not to like him.
Yeah, I think he's a self-promoter, and I think I'm sure he's in it for Deion. But I also think there's some genuineness to him. At least I want to believe there is. And he seems like he has a positive message. He may express it in ways that are unconventional, but I do think he's got a positive message just for people, not just his football players. He's kind of becoming almost a cult figure.
Yeah.
His whole persona was already huge, Alan. And he's at that point now where he's going to be a guy who has his figures in wax museums and stuff. And there's probably going to be a movie made about him someday. I'm almost mesmerized just listening to him. So it's been fun to watch. 60 Minutes, you mentioned. I watched that piece. That's 2 years in a row, Alan.
Yeah.
I did one on him last year when he was at Jackson State. Right. But it's been a lot of fun. And you know what? I kind of hope they win. I want to see where this goes. Nobody can take their eyes off this. This can't be replicated by anybody because his personality is so unique. But it's just been fun from the get-go. The moment he got to Boulder till now, and the story's just being written. And the big question now, Alan, is how long is he going to stay in Boulder? He says he doesn't want to go to the NFL. I don't believe that. I think that's probably his ultimate destination. I hope he stays in Boulder for 10 years. I hope he stays in college football. I think maybe he connects better with college kids. But man, the NFL, that's most people's goals. And he was such a player at that level. I got to think he'd want to be tested at that level. And I do think his message would resonate with multimillionaires. So it's going to be just fun to watch this thing continue to play out.
Yeah, interesting that it was the number 1 rated late night game in ESPN history last week.
Yeah,
I believe that my facts are correct. I'm talking about the game in the 10 o'clock stop. I know because we got home and did our Saturday simulcast, and I could tune it in. And it got about 2 o'clock Eastern time, and Coach Prime, and they pulled it out against the team that they were supposed to beat. It's clear that they're not unbeatable, but it's also clear that he's got that they are buying what he's selling, so to speak. I think
believe, Alan. They believe.
They do believe, and I think that's
the battle.
You have to hope. Even Ryan Walters in his situation, different guy without question, though he was a candidate for the Colorado job as well, that you got to get guys to believe. And I think that Ryan, whether he's going to do it a little differently than Deion does, without question. But my point is that it is all about that. And I don't know. I'm with you. I wouldn't bet against him, but I think Oregon will get him. But I wouldn't be shocked. One thing is his son, pretty good at quarterback, isn't he?
He's got a D-back too, son. They're both good.
Yeah, notice, both of them, right? And
the thing is, too, man, remember for Travis Hunter, their star cornerback's hurt.
Yep.
He's not going to play for 3 weeks. Hey, quick, fast fact for you on the Colorado. On the Colorado staff, you may already know this. One of the assistant coaches is a former CC Knight head coach.
Gosh,
Tim Brewster.
Oh, Tim Brewster's on that staff. I did not know that.
Tim Brewster on LaRocca Field on 9th Street. This was, I actually covered him, Alan. This was when I was working for the Lafayette Leader right out of college in 1988. He was the head coach of Central Catholic. What a character. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and Tim fits in well with Deion because Tim was an ultimate optimist. Remember when he went to Minnesota and he was doing all that stuff? I can remember Joe Tiller kind of calling him. Not he liked Tim because I think he knew Tim was in his GA at Purdue, maybe briefly. And
I think Tim wanted to get hired at Purdue a couple of times. It didn't work out.
And Tiller had crossed paths, I think, in Tiller's first stint when he was the D coordinator under Leon Burtnett. And my point is that he fits in well with that, and he's got some experience because now Tim is not a young coach anymore. Interesting. Boy, you got me on that one.
He was on the 1983 Illinois Rose Bowl team. That was his last year.
Yep, and Jack Trudeau and
Don Thorpe.
Yep. Really good Illinois team that got thumped in the Rose Bowl by Rick Neuheisel, right? But they are a team that went down in history for Illinois. Mike White said he was going to get his team to the pinnacle in 1980s. I remember the T-shirts when Purdue played Illinois at Illinois in 1980. One of the first games, I think the first game Purdue was ever on ESPN, and though it was tape delayed. And they were selling the shirts. The 80s belonged to the Illini. And I said, Mike White's never going to get him there. He did 3 years later. Now he got in a little bit of trouble too, but he was certainly good at getting that done. You and I could digress about anything on this show, which is good. So we try to keep people entertained. All right, we'll put an end to this, but with our little technical difficulties, this is I appreciate all your time getting this knocked out. A lot of fun it is for me. It gets me in the mood for the game this week, certainly, and helps me get ready. So we want to thank Tile Spray and the good folks at acrepro.com. Visit acrepro.com or call Kyle at 765-775-6502. And when it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. And that, of course, is AcrePro Midwest Farm Group. All right, we'll be back next week hitting on best homecoming games we've ever seen. We'll buy or sell that when Purdue plays Illinois, and we'll come up with a whole list of just outstanding topics, I'm sure, to hit, but we'll have fun doing it. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. It's a short one. We'll all be watching the Boilermakers on Friday night, and with all the Tom's coverage and Mike Carmen and Brian Newbert, we'll have a lot to digest after the Boilermakers take on it's not the Fighting Illini, but it is the Badgers of Wisconsin in Ross-Ade Stadium. Have a great week, everybody.